Hi everybody, Eric here, and welcome to vlog number 5. I actually said about like a week and a half ago that I was going to do this, but life gets in the way, and but here I am making good on a promise, and for those of you who are easily offended or of the conservative bent, you may want to stop watching now, because what I have to say you're not going to like, because it is an opinion. That's all it is an opinion that differs from yours, that contradicts yours, and that quite honestly assaults yours. So if you don't like differing opinions, even though we live in a free country, I suggest stopping the video now. But if not, and if you're curious to hear what I have to say, then view on. Unless you've been living under a rock, which some of you may have been, then you know what happened in Newtown, Connecticut. Guy, I'm not going to say his name because I don't think he should be glorified or remembered in any way. Barged his way into an elementary school and killed 26 people, 20 of them kids, ages 6 and 7. And you have no idea, that hit me hard, because I'm a parent. I have a 5-year-old little boy, and I love him to death. He is the center of my entire world. And to know that some nut job with an assault rifle and 2 handguns can barge his way into my kid's school and leave a trail of death like that guy did, that's some sobering shit. Okay? And it makes you think. It makes you worry. I've talked to his mother, and trust me, it's dawned on me that maybe I should pull my kid out of school and homeschool him. But, we're not going to go that far just yet. But what this event did was it triggered a shitstorm of crazy that has not stopped. Not at all. And that's what this vlog is for. It's me trying to sort out the shitstorm of crazy and bring it all down to some level of sanity that hopefully most of you can process. So let's begin, shall we? First of all, it sparked the debate on gun control. And by gun control, I don't mean jackbooted thugs coming into your house and confiscating all your guns. No. We do have a Second Amendment right. Whether it's outdated or not is beside the point. It's still there. And, yeah, we do have the right to own guns. Me personally, I don't care to. I don't think I need them. I don't see, again, an army of jackbooted thugs invading my home anytime soon. I don't see the need for it. My son does not live here. If my son did live here, then maybe I'd consider it, but, I'm pretty confident in my ability to defend my house, and myself, and my family. So, I don't see the need for a gun, but some people do, and that is their right. That's fine, but for real, we need to have a talk about this, because some of the crazy shit that's come out, like the guy who's I think he's the vice president of the National Rifle Association, aka the NRA, come out and said, yeah, the only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. And to an extent, yeah, that is true, but there are problems with this argument as well, more problems than there are solutions. The first one is, who here remembers Columbine? Yeah, on April 20th, 1999, 2 very disgruntled kids, armed to the teeth with not only guns, but pipe bombs, made their way into their high school in Littleton, Colorado, and killed a whole mass of people, students, teachers. They did a lot of damage. They went on a rampage, a bigger rampage than the kid in Newtown did. And the trick here is this vice president of the NRA, LaPierre, I think his name is. He says we should put an armed security guard in every school. Okay, we're not even going to start on the logistical cost of that, because that's a whole other argument. But Littleton had an armed security guard at their school, and he was unable to stop those two. The only thing he could do was radio for help. He tried shooting at one of them on several occasions. Didn't hit him. And this is a trained off-duty cop. This isn't some fly-by-night rent-a-cop. This was a trained off-duty police officer. I believe he was a sheriff's deputy. And it didn't work. So the good guy with the gun didn't stop the bad guys with guns. And there have been other instances where civilians have gotten involved. Very few. But in the moments that did, the one that I recall, you can look it up, that civilian was killed and the rampage continued. He too failed to stop the bad guy with the gun. So I don't see where that would work. I mean, yeah, some schools do have armed security guards, and for the most part, it works out. But when you have someone like the guy in Newtown, or the two guys in Littleton, or the guy that went crazy in the Amish school, or even the guy who went nuts last week down by Altoona, you know, or a nut job old guy, career criminal, somehow got his hands on a gun, set fire to a house, and then took pot shots at firefighters, killing 2 of them. How are you supposed to plan for all these situations? How are you supposed to prepare? Simply having an armed guard isn't a pill that's going to cure this ill. It's not. It really is not. I mean, there's no common sense behind it. There really isn't. Because look what happened in Littleton. What did that stop? You know, over a dozen people lost their lives that day, mostly kids. And then, what if there had been an armed guard in Newton? This guy shot his way into the school. Okay, would that armed guard have become another casualty? Chances are, yeah. If history is any indicator, he or she would have been another casualty, because what did he do? Shot his way in to the front door. And that's probably where that security guard is going to be stationed. And chances are he probably would have known that that security guard was there. He could have planned for that. More guns is never the solution. We have a problem in this country with gun culture. It's almost to the point now where there are as many weapons in the wild, I'm going to call it, as there are citizens in this country. It's really close. It's only a 10 or 20 million off. 300 million guns for 320 million people. And those are just the guns we know about. Okay? That's insane. I mean, yeah, okay, I understand you like to go hunting. Sure. Pick up a shotgun, pick up a single-shot rifle. Go hunt a deer, go hunt a bear, you know, depending on the season. Sure, great, sport. Okay, I get that. And then you want to protect your home. Okay, yeah, great. Own a handgun. I have no problem with this. I'm not advocating taking away guns. But assault rifles? For real. Assault rifles? Yeah, granted, the ones available to civilians are not fully automatic like a military or police weapon would be. Okay, that's a given. But what do you need them for? I like to go sport shooting. Why with an assault rifle? Can't you go sport shooting with a handgun? Single shot, bolt action? I had a semi-automatic 22 when I was a kid. But, it wasn't something I cared to go out and do all the time. And I don't see the need for anything bigger. I really don't. Why do you need a clip that dispenses 30 rounds? So you don't have to reload as often? If you're out sports shooting, your life is not in danger. You don't need to rattle off as many rounds as quickly as possible and then replace as many rounds as quickly as possible. There's just no need for that. There are no Olympic events that involve assault rifles. Okay? I don't see the need for them. And yeah, an assault rifle was used. A Bushmaster 228, 223, 225, somewhere. It's basically a 22. If that number is anything close to the caliber of the weapon. That's what this kid went nuts with. Okay, it was a Bushmaster. That's what he used to kill everybody in that school. These kids were shot no fewer than 3 and no more than 10 times each. Kids. Okay? Assault rifles are designed to do one thing. Dish out death to other human beings. There is no need for them to be anywhere but on a battlefield or in the hands of a highly trained tactical officer trying to defuse a very serious situation. Well, I want them to protect my house. If somebody's got, this gun, I want a bigger gun to protect him. That's not always going to work. Bigger isn't always better. Okay? So yeah, I think we should have a rational talk about gun control in this country. We need it. Too many loopholes. The NRA has pushed to make it way too easy for people to get guns. And if it's way too easy for people to get guns, a lot of times you're going to have the wrong people getting them. Which brings me to the next thing. We need to have a serious talk about mental health in this country. Because you got all these freaking Looney Tunes in Congress. Well, we need to cut Medicare spending. It's an entitlement. First of all, no, it's not an entitlement. Okay, we pay into this. Alright, so we want to get something back. It's not like it's just the federal government throwing money at us. This is our own money. And it's a service that we pay for and need. And a lot of the funding that has already been stripped away from Medicare is for mental health. As a country, we got a lot of issues. Okay? Not everything's firing on all cylinders up here. And that's a problem. How many people go undiagnosed? And those who are even diagnosed, you can't even get into the system unless there's a paper trail. And not just a medical paper trail. You have to be deemed by a court to be a danger to yourself or others in order for these things to be reported to the FBI, where they keep the central database. And then on top of that, the states hardly ever report them. There are some states who in the past 10 years have reported fewer than 100. In 10 years, fewer than 100 cases where a person's mental health should prevent them from owning firearms. A lot of them slipped through the cracks. One of them slipped through the cracks 2 weeks ago. Okay, yeah, granted, he wasn't allowed to purchase a weapon, and he tried. But his mom lived in that environment with him. She owned the guns. Those guns were used to kill her, too. So yeah, mental health is something we seriously need to take a look at, because there are a lot of unstable people in this country. And you marry that with the idea that it's so easy to get guns, you got a recipe for disaster right there. Okay? Because somebody doesn't want to pay for the mental health treatment, identification, and other aspects of treating a person, and that person gets their hand on a gun and shoots my son? Really? You expect me to deal with that? Because you want a gun? No. And there have been some other reasons that are thrown around too as to why this happened. That's a lot of what happens when these tragedies come about, is people want to know why. Well, Some people are blaming violence in the media. That the culture of violence portrayed by film, television, video games is affecting our kids and desensitizing them to it and turning them into little criminal masterminds. Really? That's what you want to blame? Let me tell you a little story. When I was a kid, I was picked on quite a bit. Most of you watching this video probably know that. And you know what I did? I was never big. I was never really physically capable of defending myself. I wasn't a violent kid. I was angry, though. I was really angry. I mean, crazy angry. These people were pissing me off. They were fucking with my head. They were saying shit about me that is just fucked up and rank to say about another person, whether they're a kid or not. And every day I went home, and before I got my car, all I had were my video games. You know what I had? I had Mortal Kombat. Oh yeah. That's a big one, isn't it? Mortal Kombat. Ripping people's hearts out. Knocking their heads off. Pushing them into spikes. Knocking them into vats of boiling acid. What have you. Yeah, it's a pretty violent game. It was the most violent game we had when I was growing up. And you know what I did with that game? I played the shit out of it. I took out my anger and my frustrations on a 16-bit depiction of an opponent. And when I was done, when I had taken out all that anger and aggression on a game without hurting anyone, I felt better. And to be honest with you, the violent video games helped me deal with a lot of the bullshit I went through. Now, okay, yeah, granted, we got these games today like Call of Duty, Left 4 Dead, crazy, violent video games. But those aren't the problem. Any kid knows that it's just a game. It's fantasy. It's not reality. They're spawn camping on a hill with a sniper rifle, playing, Black Ops Online, multiplayer. Boom, headshot, all that crap. It's not real. It's not going to affect us. We got these violent movies these days. Your Mission Impossibles, what else is there? Crazy violent movies. Your Boondock Saints, another violent movie I can think of. All these horror films, Last House on the Left, Cabin in the Woods, Scream, whatever. All these crazy serial killer movies and shit, horror movies. All of it is nothing but escapist entertainment, and people know that. We had more problems with people imitating what they saw in a movie like The Program. Do you remember that movie? The Program, where a bunch of football players went out and laid in the middle of the road on the double yellow while traffic was jamming by them. Yeah, we have more of a problem with kids imitating that stupidity. Okay, a couple kids got killed doing that, yeah. That was dumb. But as far as imitating what they do in Call of Duty, or imitating what they see in like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it's not going to happen. You see a movie where, like Last House on the Left, where somebody gets raped, and the family goes out in revenge. How often does that happen? How often is that a direct cause of somebody's actions? How often do you hear about them imitating that? You don't. What this is an attempt to blame something that has nothing to do with it. It's to deflect the blame away from where it really belongs. Ourselves. And our own failures as a society. To keep this kind of shit in check. And speaking of failures as a society, the rankest reasons I've heard for why Newtown happened, why Sandy Hook Elementary School was turned into a war zone by one man, are the religious ones. And this is where I'm going to piss a lot of you off. A lot of you seem to think that if God were allowed in our schools, this wouldn't have happened. No. I'm sorry. There's a reason why God isn't allowed in our schools. Most of our schools are publicly funded. And because public funding comes from a state or a federal institution, they're not allowed to promote any one religion over another. That's the separation clause that exists in the same Constitution that seems to tell you you can own whatever gun you want. Okay? It just says not happening. And where was God that day? Where was your benevolent creator? Was he on a sabbatical? Was he too busy trying to get Tim Tebow the starting job in New York? Was he busy helping out your grandma that's stricken with cancer? What is more important than the protection of children? There is no more important job that I have than raising my son to be a good person and protecting him. I understand this. Isn't your God benevolent? Isn't your God supposed to love all the little children? There's a whole song about it. Jesus loves the little children, right? Did he not love them enough? Where'd he go? You got crazies like the Westboro Baptist Church saying, well, this is God's punishment to us for tolerating homosexuality. Really? So, because we are a progressive society, God decided to kill little kids. What the fuck kind of God decides, well, these people are behaving badly. In order to teach them a lesson, I'm going to kill some children. For real? This is what you think? And you wonder why I'm so anti-religious. It's because of the crazy mixed up bullshit that some of your leaders think it's okay to say. These children were punished because we don't allow God in our schools. God allowed this to happen because we don't allow him in our schools anymore. In order for this to not happen, we have to let God back into our lives more? Really? How many more children have to die? Not mine. And I'm willing to bet you don't want yours to die either. Okay? I think it's really rude and disrespectful to take a tragedy like Newtown and turn it into an argument for allowing a religion in schools. That's some fucked up shit. And coming from an atheist, that sounds pretty unchristian. It doesn't sound very Christian at all. What is wrong with our culture that we value guns and God over the lives of children? The right to own a firearm that we don't need, and the lack of subservience to an imaginary man in the sky all adds up to 20 children dying. 20 beautiful, innocent kids, no older than 7. 7! Kids didn't even get a chance to start to live, and you want to turn it into something like that. I think that's pretty fucked up. And yeah, I'm looking at you, Mike Huckabee. Yeah, you were the first. You were the first wingnut asshole to come out and say, well, it's because we don't have God in our schools. Really? Could you please cite your sources on that one? The lack of God in schools was the direct cause of some nutbar picking up his mother's gun, killing her in her sleep with it, and then driving her car to an elementary school and massacring 20 kids and 6 adults. Show me your work. When I was in high school and we did math, we had to show our work. Show me yours. Okay? That's just fucked up. And you got these ultra-conservative radio show hosts who are parroting this crap and doubling down on the crazy. We need God in our schools. And how do you know that allowing God in public schools is going to stop this? Okay? I really want to see some evidence to back that theory up. Well, back in the 1950s, people still acted fucked up. Whenever somebody had a mental problem, they just locked them away, which is fucked up. Instead of trying to deal with it, they figured out of sight, out of mind. And they left it to an intrepid few inside an asylum to try and deal with it. In fact, that's a running theory as to why this kid went nuts, because he was afraid his mom was going to have him locked up. It's not the theory, it's not the, proven reason, but it's a reason. This kid had problems, and he was afraid that his mother was going to lock him away. That sounds pretty reasonable to me. Never a reason to act out the way he did, but it's a reasonable fear. Our culture is so obsessed with selfishness, and I want this, I want to own a bunch of guns, I want God in our schools, that we forget that there are other people involved in this equation. And when those people appear to us like they're broken, we just don't want to deal with it. We don't want to waste money spending it on treatment for mental health issues. We'd rather just lock them away and forget they exist, and feel sorry for them, pray for them. No, that doesn't work. Obviously, it does not work. I mean, yeah, locking these people up might keep them away from guns, and thus keep them from shooting up an elementary school, or a movie theater, or a shopping mall, or emergency responders on a scene, but it's not going to fix the problem. And the problem is not them, it's us. We as a society need to take stock of what the fuck we're doing. Okay, this culture of me really needs to just die a horrible death. Or children and adults, people of all ages are going to continue to die actual horrible deaths, simply because we as a society don't want to be bothered. We don't want to be bothered with the care of those we see as broken. Sometimes these people can't be fixed, but sometimes, a lot of times, they can be. If given the right treatment, yeah. Praying isn't going to do anything. All praying does is you feel like you've done something, and therefore you feel absolved of any and all responsibility. No, you got to unfold your hands and put them to work doing something to help. Talking to the ceiling isn't going to do it. Okay? It's not going to work that way. We need to wake up. We need to stop arguing amongst ourselves and start working together. But instead, the NRA has people so paranoid that, oh my God, the liberals are coming to take all our guns away. No. People like me who are liberal are not coming to take all your guns away. Forget that idea. It's not going to happen. But we do need to get serious about how, with rights come responsibilities. We love having the rights, but we don't seem to want to take the responsibilities. Now, I know there's a lot of gun owners out there, a lot of NRA members, who are all for these kind of responsibilities. But they're not being loud enough. They're being drowned out by a minority who screams and rants and raves about jackbooted thugs coming into their house to take their guns away. A minority who would rather lock up the crazy people than send them to get the care that they need. Treatment. Out of sight, out of mind? No. Treatment? Yeah. And then they want to claim that Medicare is a free ride. No, we pay for that. Just like Social Security. Social Security isn't in the budget. We pay into that, and it pays out to us. And it's used to treat people with mental problems. And we want to cut that? I don't get it. Look, the point is we need to stop screaming and yelling and blaming everything else and start dealing with the real problem. The real problem is us. The real problem is the society we've created for ourselves. We need to start dealing with that. Okay? Before more kids die, more brothers, sisters, parents, aunts, uncles, cousins, okay? I'd rather deal with it first than have my child end up in the crosshairs. I'm not here to blame anything but society. I'm not going to blame video games. I'm not going to blame movies. I'm honestly not going to blame guns. Easy access to guns, yeah, but that's part of the society we've created. That's part of the culture. That's the problem. So's the God-fearing culture. Act as if God's a magic pill that's going to save us all from damnation. No. That's part of the culture too. We need to sit down, breathe, take stock of what we're doing to ourselves. And I'm begging you, we need to do it before our kids are next. Okay? Alright, rant over. And seeing as how I recorded this on Christmas Day, I hope everybody has a Merry Christmas, because I'm willing to bet that in Oregon, in Colorado, in Connecticut, in Pennsylvania, and in a lot of places that have been touched by gun violence recently, Christmas isn't so merry. How long is it going to be before that affects us directly? And is that what it's going to take for us to sit down and go, wait a minute? I suppose that's up to all of you. But I hope you wake up and realize what's going on. We've created a fucked up culture for ourselves. It's time we fixed it.